Tomorrow is not promised. Go ahead and do your little dance while they still playing your song. So today, man, we're going to Ware State Prison, bro. We're going to Ware State Prison, but what we still have on our cuff is this existing gang war between the Bloods and the GDs. So right now, as of Sunday, this thing popped off at Washington State Prison. Washington State Prison is a camp that I was released from back in 2006. Two different places, two different times. Of course, the violence has increased 100-fold. We have come with exclusive interviews. Last night, we were online with an individual who was behind the walls at Washington State Prison. This individual was on my caseload when he was about 14, 15 years old. He is in the system. He gave us a lot of intel last night. That's on my other page, Best Day of My Life. The name of this page is Stay Out of Prison. So we're going to dive off into Ware State Prison because it spread it. Because of shortage of staff and because it's gangland and because of effective communication, that war spread like wildfire and it just leaked to other camps. Now, before we go to Ware State Prison, I just want to give an update on one of the individuals who was unalived in that war was supposed to go home today. Let's dive in.
I'm standing in front of the Greyhound bus station where they were set to have a family reunion on Wednesday. They had it all planned out. Jimmy Trammell, who's going to be released from that prison in Washington County, catch a bus here to this Greyhound bus station and start his new life. But he was killed 4 days before his release.
He did 10 years in his prison, and he didn't make it home.
Home. It's where 42-year-old Jimmy Trammell expected to be Wednesday after 10 years as an inmate with the Georgia Department of Corrections for felony burglary charges.
He was going to be taking the bus back here, and he needed to be picked up from the bus station. And I was going to pick him up from the bus station, but I didn't get that chance.
According to Aquinas, his brother Jimmy Trammell was killed Sunday as fights broke out in the Washington State Prison in Washington County. Trammell is one of 3 inmates who were killed. The Department of Corrections saying Ahmoud Hatcher and Teddy Jackson are the other 2 inmates. At least 13 other inmates and a corrections officer were injured. Aquinas got a call from the warden in the early hours of Monday morning.
She just said he was involved in an altercation and he lost his life.
For Aquinas and Trammell, the past 10 years have been rough. They lost both of their parents and 2 siblings. But Trammell's release was a chance at a second life, the turning of a new leaf.
He talked about proving to me a better side of him than what I know. And that was taken away from me. And I need answers. I really do.
The Department of Corrections say this all started as an altercation on a sidewalk between inmates that were a part of gangs. Within 2 hours, though, they say they had this under control. But Trammell's family now obviously planning a funeral instead of a reunion.
You probably can't see it, so I'm going to try to zoom in on the clock out there. You can't get a good view of the clock, so I'm going to show you something.
Before we get started, this is what I want to touch in on. Listen, bro. This is not about snitching. It's not about glorifying gangs. This is not about defending crime. This is about human beings. Ware State Prison sits in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. Out of sight, out of mind, built to punish, but somehow turned into a place where basic humanity gets lost. And every time something jumps off, every stabbing, every lockdown, every headline, the public hears inmate violence. But what you don't hear about is the environment that creates the violence. So today we're going to talk about what's really happening inside Ware State Prison. We're going to start with what everybody's whispering about, but is scared to talk about out loud. GD versus Blood conflict. Then we're going to talk about the lack of staff, the condition, the inhumane acts, and the quiet suffering that never makes the news. And we'll end with something this system forgot existed. solutions. Because if we can't imagine a better way, then we're just feeding the same cycle.
That's the best I can get. But yeah, this is what's going on for West State. Fortunately, we don't have no saint. Some depression.
I also want to say this, yes, there is tension, there is conflict. Yes, GD versus Blood has become a hot topic in Southwood. But let me say this clearly. Gangs are not the disease, they're symptoms. When a prison is understaffed, when movement is chaotic, when officers are overwhelmed, when rules are enforced inconsistently, power doesn't disappear, power just moves. And in those environments, men don't join gangs for fashion. They join for protection, structure, and survival. Inside where lines get drawn fast. Not because men wake up wanting war, not because uncertainty breeds fear, and fear breeds alliances. One unit short on staff, one door open late, one count rushed, one blind spot, that's all it takes. And once violence starts, it spreads. Not because everyone wants to fight, but because nobody trusts the system to keep them safe.
Order's not flushing. Sync is not working. They have cut the power off. They have cut everything off. We have no power in here. Like nothing. Like shit everywhere. Like this has been going on for the past week. We ain't took no shower and we ain't took no shower since last Tuesday. It's been a week. So this is what's going on. This is how I do them. This is what's going on. Every door. You got one door over there open. This is what's going on. We haven't took no showers or nothing. Toilet messed up. See how the room is. Rooms. This is what they feed us. This is what they give us. They give us, which is a fucking peanut butter and cheese with no water. Like no water, don't have no type of water. We get one scoop of water, we get one scoop of ice a day, and if we might get that. So this is how we living in West State Prison. Because we're on lockdown right now. Being because of the riot. The reason we riot, reason why the riot part, because of health issues, leaving us in the room locked in, not taking our showers, not giving us showers, not doing nothing for us. So this is why West State had a riot. That's why officers were injured, because they cut power off and they refused to give us water and food. And it's been like this for almost 2 weeks now. Like, we've been locked down. My dorm has been locked down for a month. We don't know why. We just been in lockdown for a whole month. And a couple of days ago, and we realized that all our doors started popping at one time. All our doors started popping. So the individuals in our dorm, we did not know that it was a riot occurred until our doors popped and we left. So, and we asked guys why they popped it. Why did they do it? Why is we rioting? They was like, no, because dudes down there haven't been eating for days. Like Dave said, Lieutenant Steels, Captain Steels, whoever, the three guys that was walking around, said they refused to give them water, refused to let them take showers, and all type of stuff. So, yeah, we've been like this for 2 weeks now with my dorm. We've been like this for a whole month. We've been locked down for a whole month, and how we've been keeping track. They just fixed we had an individual come and fix the clock this morning, so yes. How we've been keeping up with time and how long we've been locked down. We've been locked down for 4 store days every Monday. Every Monday we go to the store. So this is the 4th Monday we have not been to the store. So yes, this is how we.
I ain't trying to be funny, but I will say this, cause I don't know what you're recording this on, but I'm almost certain that it has a time on it. But it's still inhumane, but let's not act like you don't know what time it is.
Living. This is what's going on at Ware State Prison. And I cannot turn on my mic. I can't turn on my mic. Yeah. But I'm gonna show you that again.
All right.
See me in this toilet. Toilet is not working. Sink is not working.
That's crazy. I just got
No water
thirsty
coming
just
out.
looking at that.
Like at all, I will pour the backs back. Like ain't no water. We go back. Ain't no water. There's no water. We press the
Bro, once violence starts, it spreads, man. Not because everyone wants to fight, but because nobody trusts the system to keep them safe or hydrated. So what happens? Men feel forced to choose sides. Neutral becomes dangerous. Silence becomes liability. And the system looks at the aftermath and says, see, they're animals. No, they're humans reacting to chaos. Let's dive in.
Covering Ware County, Georgia. Tonight, we're learning more about an incident that took place inside the Ware State Prison. This is near Waycross, that prompted the prison to go into lockdown. According to the Georgia Department of Corrections, 2 staff members and 3 inmates were hurt during the incident. News4Jax reporter Zach Lashaway talked with a former officer of the facility.
Georgia Department of Corrections is referring to this incident as a disturbance. We must warn you, the details and images you're about to see are graphic. In video gone viral, you can see injured and bloodied inmates inside a prison dorm in disarray. The quote, disturbance inside Ware State Prison Saturday night into Sunday morning was streamed on social media.
Those videos were shot by inmates on contraband cell phones that they get.
John Eason says he worked for Georgia Department of Corrections at Ware State Prison for 10 years. Eason says he resigned 2 weeks ago.
We've been breaking policy. We've been very short-staffed.
News4Jax crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson says this sort of thing can easily happen inside a prison, but officers here handled the situation well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good response time for a large facility like that. You know, you've got hundreds of inmates there. You've got to account for all of them. So it's going to take time. You got to be methodical with that process. You can't rush it because somebody could be hiding somewhere waiting for a chance to go through a door, unsecured door, or maybe even attack a correctional officer. So they've got to take their time to defuse the situation. And hour and a half time frame to have a lockdown is not a long time at all.
According to the department's website, Ware State Prison is a closed facility with 1,546 inmates. The department says they are investigating a disturbance caused by inmates. They released a statement saying in part, quote, 2 staff members received minor non-life-threatening injuries and 3 inmates received non-life-threatening injuries. A golf cart was set on fire and several windows were broken, but no major damage to the facility was reported, and officers deployed non-lethal ammunition and brought the incident under control. At no time was public safety at risk. I reached out to Georgia Department of Corrections with further questions. In mid-July, an inmate at Ware State Prison was murdered by another inmate. GDC is investigating that incident.
And Waycross police confirmed to News4Jax they sent 5 officers to help secure the perimeter around the prison last night.
Let's talk about what doesn't trend on social media. Staff shortages. Ware State Prison, like many Georgia prisons, is operating with severely reduced staffing. 1 officer watching too many inmates. Dorms running on skeleton crews. Overtime stacked on top of exhaustion. That's not safety, that's survival. Officers aren't villains here. Most of them are burned out, underpaid, and overworked. And when staffing is thin, counts get rushed, searches get skipped, tensions get missed, small conflicts turn into big ones. When staff don't have time to talk, observe, or de-escalate, violence becomes the language in the building.
Corrections officers are speaking out after this weekend's violent disturbance at a Southeast Georgia prison. This is the cell phone video taken by an inmate showing an officer in handcuffs being escorted by inmates It's gone viral since it was posted on the unedited Real Talk Right Now Facebook page. The Georgia Department of Corrections says 2 staff members and 3 inmates were injured during the unrest at Ware State Prison in Waycross.
I was working for my safety and just trying to be able to get out and get back to my family.
News4Jax reporter Corley Peel spoke with 2 correctional officers who work at the prison, including one who was on duty Saturday night when the disturbance broke out. And Corley, these correctional officers believe they were easy targets.
The officer says that they have poor staffing at the prison, and they say if the prison was better staffed and if they had more equipment, then this violence disturbance that was caught on video would have never happened. This video shows a corrections officer in handcuffs after witnesses say Ware State Prison inmates took the officer hostage. The unedited Real Right Now group shared the video with News4Jax. A corrections officer who wants to remain anonymous says they feared for their safety as they watched the chaos break out Saturday night.
There was just complete destruction. They were destroying a lot of property, setting things on fire.
Witnesses say inmates used contraband cell phones to record injured inmates covered in blood inside a dorm. That video has now gone viral. 3 inmates and 2 officers were hurt, according to prison officials.
I need some help, man.
Do you know how they were able to gain control?
They were able to gain control because they took a sergeant hostage. They were able to take his keys, which allowed them to get through different gates and things like that.
The officer says inmates also stole radios. According to the officer, low staffing is the reason inmates were able to take over. They say roughly 13 officers were supervising more than 1,500 inmates Saturday night. At times, some of the 13 housing units go unsupervised.
On a good day, there's usually 1 officer per building, but as of lately, due to the shortness of staff, there's many times where 1 officer will be working 2 buildings, sometimes even 3 buildings by themselves.
Another officer who wants to remain anonymous wasn't there Saturday night, but resigned after the disturbance.
I plan on making it a career, but after all this, it's not an option.
They say the only equipment they have to protect themselves is their bare hands.
We barely have working radios. We barely are supplying cuffs. We do not have any OC spray, which is a spray, the pepper spray that we're certified with. We don't get that. They took all the batons from us, so we pretty much have no way to protect ourselves.
The officers say it's normal for them to work 13 to 14-hour shifts. They say they're hoping that this disturbance will prompt the state and send a message to hopefully make the prison safer for staff. The Georgia Department of Corrections.
You know what? I am drawn to the fact that periodically, man, it pops off in the Georgia Department of Corrections. And this right here did not happen over the weekend. And I'm saying that to say that, remember when it was an outrage then, and then it stopped running the news, it stopped running on the news, and then we forgot about it, bro. We forgot about it. But these people are, here's the humdinger. So a lot of times I speak for humans, whether it doesn't matter what kind of situation that they're in. And so I do this because I was once incarcerated. I did 10 years for armed robbery. I've come home, I've got a full pardon. I have contracts with certain counties. I'm an anger management specialist throughout the state of Georgia. And so last Friday, I was allowed to go into a facility, one of the most violent facilities in the state of Georgia. First, I got a realistic aspect as to what the staff goes through. From top all the way to the bottom, there are some people who work for the Georgia Department of Corrections who actually care about human beings. They care about getting the job done. It's no 2 ways about it, bro. I wouldn't report it if I didn't believe it wholeheartedly. They're just humans trying to get the job done. They hadn't been given the tools to do so. That's the reality of the situation. But I was able to speak to a lifers group. When I spoke to that lifers group, some of the faces looked familiar. Some of the guys that were there were at Alto back in the 90s. I came home in 06, but I was incarcerated with these guys in the late 90s. I came home 20 years ago. They still been there. So as the front page news changes, those humans are still in that place. They're still living up under those conditions. And whenever that's a factor, reality get meshed with the hot topics. These people are always going through these scenarios. These humans are always being treated inhumane. The staffing is short, gangland is in effect, and communication amongst those people who are housed is detrimental to the existence of people who are in great need of being rehabilitated. That's the God's the honest truth, man.
Make sure that my child don't die behind those walls.
A violent disturbance happened at the prison over the weekend, and inmates took these viral videos with contraband cell phones documenting the event. According to corrections officers who spoke with News4Jax, 2 officers, 3 inmates were injured, but all are expected to be able to recover. News4Jax reporter Corley Peel joins us live to show us what the inmates and their family members are saying about that riot. And Corley, one inmate that is, even wrote a letter.
Kent, we have received that letter that the inmate wrote, who claims that lack of staffing and poor living conditions are some of the reasons why that violent disturbance happened. Now, the Georgia Department of Corrections says the cause is still unknown, but after seeing these viral videos, loved ones of the inmates say they want answers. For the past 4 days, videos of inmates covered in blood and a corrections officer
Tonight, we're hearing from the family of a corrections officer injured during a disturbance at the Ware State Prison. Family says the officer is Captain Mac Payne, an Army veteran and father of 4.
And he's one of 2 corrections officers and 3 inmates who were injured during the unrest. News4Jax reporter Corley Peel tells us how he's doing after that violent incident at the prison.
Loved ones share photos of Captain Mac Payne with a patch covering his face as he lies in a hospital bed.
He's like a very good dad to me.
We met up with the mother of Captain Payne's daughter, Sherelle Correnti, at the airport. She says the corrections officer was injured during this disturbance captured on video at the Ware State Prison on August 1st.
It was really devastating getting a phone call about what happened, because it's an unexpected phone call that you don't never want to receive.
A different officer on duty that night tells News4Jax lack of staff and equipment is part of the blame for how the inmates were able to take over. Correnti says because the investigation is ongoing.
You know what? I'm forced to think about the individuals who are not participating in this melee. I don't say melee. Disturbance. Men go hours, sometimes days, without proper medical attention. Mental health crises are treated like disciplinary issues, locked down, stretched on endlessly. You heard the individual say, man, we've been locked down for a month. Showers, phones, recreation, cut without explanation. And the worst part is dehumanization becomes routine. When people are treated like numbers long enough, they start acting like what the system expects. People forget birthdays, they forget funerals, they forget their children's voices, and when hope dries up, anger fills that space, bro. We gotta figure out a way for humans to feel like humans. If I was forced to come up with a strategy in order to reduce all this nonsense that's going down in the Georgia Department of Corrections, this is what I would do. And I'm no correctional officer, and I'm not holier than thou or any of those things. I see an issue, and this is just me thinking out loud. The gangs are an issue. The gangs are an issue that is uncompromisable. The cell phones, the communication. The communication is it's ridiculous. And the short of staff. These are the three major issues going on in the Georgia Department of Corrections. This is what I would do. And I'm just thinking out loud. I would up the pay. I would up the pay. I would up the pay. Now, what I would do is I would lock everybody down. I would lock everybody down just for the sake of saving lives. I would lock everybody down. And I would attempt to get those individuals who are in particular gangs or sectors of gangs or sets, and I would house them together. I would put all the GDs at one place or in one dorm. I would put all the Bloods, all the Crips. I would segregate everybody. I would segregate everybody as far away from each other as possible. Then some kind of way, you got to get them phones. If you don't get them phones, it's going to keep going on. Now, simultaneously, I would raise the pay. I would strengthen the conditioning of the officers. I would train them well, and I would pay them well. But I would still have everybody on lockdown, and they will all be, when they woke up, when they got to where they was coming out, they would be around their own people. That's just an attempt. And like I say, I'm no scientist. I've never ran a jail. I'm not the police. I'm just a human being that is looking at other human beings, and I think I have a solution. But it would be naive of me to believe that I'm the only one who has come to this conclusion. I have another theory. That theory is that this shit going the way that they think it ought to go. For whatever reason, whatever the end result is, it's where they want it to be. You got to watch for the hook. I don't know what the fourth quarter is going to look like, but it is going to be drenched in a bag of boo-boo. I can almost guarantee that, man. I'm not going to talk your head off or force you to look at more footage of these inhumane acts, bro. We need solutions. We need solutions, and then we need solutions, man. I'm going to touch on one more video, man, and then we're going to conclude.
New tonight at 10, a former Ware State Prison corrections officer is giving News 3 a look into what it's like to work for an understaffed prison. This comes just days after a riot injuring 2 officers and 3 inmates. WSAV News 3's Ricardo Lewis spoke with that former officer.
A riot shook the Ware State Prison in Waycross Saturday. These graphic videos posted on Facebook show what happened behind the prison's walls. John Eason is a former corrections officer at the prison who is concerned for the safety of the staff.
I've heard so many horror stories, it's crazy, and I really haven't been able to get no sleep past a couple nights.
He left the job 2 weeks ago for safety reasons after the prison staff became stretched thin. He says at least 33 officers usually work per shift, but lately that number has been below 10.
Voiced our opinions multiple times over, breaking policies and procedures and shortage of staff.
Eason says policies were broken when officers were asked to carry keys that give access throughout the prison. Allegedly, inmates were able to get a hold of those keys the night of the riot. Eason says usually a control room is used to close inmate cells.
We got so short, we couldn't afford to place an officer in the control room, so they just handed us the keys to the buildings.
When officers voiced their concerns to management, Eason says their pleas for help weren't answered.
Unfortunately, the answers we got were basically, you can always find another job, so no one's holding a gun to your head.
The Georgia Department of Corrections wrote in a statement, quote, "The GDC takes staff and inmate safety very seriously at all of our facilities, and we are diligent in working to ensure staffing levels are consistent." An annual report done by the GDC for the 2019 year shows the retention rate of correctional officers continues to be a challenge. 78% of the people the department hired that year were COs, but 71% of those officers...
Oh, let's saying this the right way, bro. Not with blame, not with excuses, but with truth. Ware State Prison doesn't need more punishment. It needs adequate staffing, mental health support, consistent rules, accountability on all sides, and above all, human dignity. Because here's the part nobody wants to say. Most people in Ware are coming home one day. And how we treat them inside determines who they become on the outside. If you treat a man like an animal long enough, don't be surprised when he bite the shit out you.